You may have to lay people off. Are you worried about keeping your business?
Well, of course.
One Detroit auto supplier says he's going to have to lay off employees and close a warehouse.
Today, for that same $1 million in products, we're looking to pay $725,000 in tariffs.
We have breaking news that probably shocks no one, as an auto supplier in Detroit is cutting jobs and announcing they might have to close factories as well due to Trump's tariffs that, of course, are magically going to bring back American jobs. So if you can, leave us a like on this video. It helps us out a ton. It lets us know you enjoy the content, and it's free. And let's get right to a CNN segment breaking down just this.
For a lot of business owners, the future is still very much uncertain as they navigate this new economic era, trying to figure out exactly what it means for their businesses, their employees, their livelihoods moving forward. One Detroit auto supplier says he's going to have to lay off employees and close a warehouse because of the president's tariffs. Joining us now is the CEO of Detroit Axle, Mike Mushanish. Mike, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. I really appreciate it. You have a family-owned business. I believe your dad started it. You took over. Walk people through the impact on your business right now.
The impact has been extreme. I mean, I'd like to put it in context here. The first Trump administration, he levied tariffs. Back then, if we were to receive $1 million in products, we would pay $25,000 in tariffs. And today, for that same $1 million in products, we're looking to pay $725,000 in tariffs.
But remember, guys, if you wait long enough, the magical tariffs will flip the magic tariff switch and all the jobs will magically start to boom here. Like, just don't ask why or how that's going to happen. Just wait. Long-term gain, right? I mean, we all saw this coming. Tariffs have massive downstream effects, multiplicative effects in these sectors, because at some point in production, almost anything we assemble in America relies on imports, which of course become much more expensive with these tariffs and plans. He mentioned almost $1 million in tariffs for his imports. Where do you think those costs go? It's simple. And it's funny because MAGA loves to say this when it comes to corporate tax cuts, which are actually shown to not go back into the product because you can reinvest that money into the business in ways to put your profit down the line. But they don't understand it on tariffs, something that is directly intertwined with the product that will get passed down to consumers, and when unable to be passed downstream, will lead to layoffs or factories being closed. It'll just go upstream, which are what we are seeing play out in real time right now.
Where does this leave you? You may have to lay people off. Are you worried about keeping your business?
Well, of course. I mean, our people that work for us are the ones who made the company. I'd like to say that when we gave the notice to the state of Michigan, we started to draft it back in May. Now, I mean, the world has changed. We've seen that our industry as a whole has increased pricing dramatically. We've seen that other competitors, perhaps, smaller or medium-sized competitors, have actually exited the market.
This is why tariffs are so regressive in nature, where ideally you would want a policy that leaves the bigger companies making way for the smaller business at points. This is kind of when you get into high marginal tax rates, right? The right will always say, oh, well, why would I want to sell X and X house when you're going to tax me at X and X percent? Well, you shouldn't, right? It would leave smaller people who aren't going to be taxed at that rate to have that house to sell. That's a good policy. Bad policy is one that the smaller business can't have a piece of the pie, and it's leaving only the big corporations, right? That excludes more people from true social mobility, and that only factories who can afford to take the losses will remain. So sorry to all the mom and pop shops, right? If you can't afford to lay off 10% of your staff and keep operating, you're done. If you can't afford to raise costs by 50, 80, 90, 100% and continue operating, you're done. Again, guys, we've already seen 3 straight months of manufacturing losses in the sector. Our best month so far since the tariffs have been put into place was 74,000 jobs total, our entire job market. We want at least 100,000 for a weak month to be at operational level. The tariffs are a fail. The data is in.
The explicit call for more manufacturing jobs as a basis, as a rationale for the tariffs, that simply hasn't worked out. I think the sector has lost some 30 or 40,000 jobs roughly in the last 4 months. In terms of immigration, this is interesting because it's worth noting that for all the attention that's been given to deportations and undocumented immigration, it's also the case that we're putting up barriers to legal immigration. And so preliminary, and everything is preliminary at this point, estimates are that net immigration levels are going to fall this year and possibly next year. And that does have an effect on the economy. It means that the labor force isn't going to be as big as it otherwise would have been. And eventually that also strains the capacity of the overall economy to grow as well. So that is absolutely something that I think, requires a little bit more attention, and it's going to be worth following in the coming years.
It's crazy as we dive more into this administration that we realize every single policy Trump has is bad for employment, bad for the economy, and thus bad for you, which again, those of us on the left knew, but I mean, more and more people are having to wake up to this reality, and you can't contest it anymore. He wants to do mass deportation and limit legal immigration with no plan to fill the jobs those populations occupy, all while putting insane tariffs on imports to stifle those sectors and their job creation as well, while also doing mass federal layoffs, of which many state economies rely on if they have high federal employment numbers among their populations, all of which lowers cash velocity, which does what? We've talked about this, guys. Pop quiz. Leaves less tax points, creating more of a need for a tax burden. You need to artificially create that, right? Trump, however, what's he doing? Simultaneously is moving that burden off of the rich and onto the middle class. So welcome to Trump's America, where the middle class falls off, the lower classes lose their health care, and well, the rich get richer.